Folksboro is sending a message right now, and if you're really watching this team, you can feel it. The Patriots look like they're building an offense that's nastier, tougher, more physical, and way more intentional than what we saw before. And at the same time, there are still big play possibilities floating out there that could raise the ceiling of this whole thing in a massive way. That's what makes this so interesting. When you connect the roster moves, the push for more muscle in the trenches, the effort to protect the quarterback, and the rumors at wide receiver, this stops looking like random off-season noise and starts feeling like a real plan. So if you're tracking every move coming out of Folksboro, subscribe, lock in, and tell me this right now in the comments. How fired up are you about where this thing could be going? The first big clue is Reggie Gilliam, and maybe he's not the flashy name that wins headlines across the league, but don't get it twisted. This kind of player changes the whole feel of an offense. That's the point. This is not a signing for fantasy football people. This is a football signing. This is a tone-setting signing. Gilliam comes over from Buffalo with a reputation that basically screams what Mike Vrabel wants this team to become. Tough, violent, relentless. He said it himself. Tenacious, physical. The kind of player where when you turn on the tape and see somebody get blown out of the play, he wants you to know that was him. And honestly, that lines up perfectly with what New England has been telling us all off-season. Because let's be real, last year the Patriots did not have this element consistently. Brock Lampy got hurt, Jack Westover had to get thrown into the fullback role, and the production just wasn't there. Now they bring in the top-graded fullback from PFF while trying to build a more punishing run game and a sturdier protection unit around Drake Mail. That is not accidental. That is a team saying, we are done being soft in key spots. Gilliam isn't just here to exist on the roster. He's here to lead through contact. He's here to clear lanes for Ramondre and Travion. He's here to help this offense dictate terms instead of reacting to whatever the defense wants to do. And the best part? The messaging is totally aligned. Gilliam said Vrabel was talking physicality from the second he walked in the building. Thomas Brown echoed the same thing. That matters. When the player, the coach, and the roster move all point in the same direction, that's when you know it's bigger than one transaction. That's identity. That's a coaching staff trying to build an offense with some bite again. So tell me this. Is this exactly the kind of move the Patriots needed to get the offense back to playing bully ball? Or do you still think they need even more beef up front? Drop it in the comments because this is where the whole blueprint starts. Then the conversation takes a hard turn, because if Gilliam represents floor and toughness, Tyreek Hill represents ceiling and chaos. And yeah, I know it sounds wild, but that's exactly why the idea has juice. Should the Patriots still be looking for another major receiver? That's the question. And if Tyreek Hill is really on the table, even with all the risk, you have to talk about it. You have to. This isn't some average veteran name floating around late in the cycle. This is one of the most explosive weapons of his generation. A guy who, at his best, doesn't just beat coverage, he bends the entire defense out of shape. Now obviously this comes with serious red flags. He's coming off a major knee injury, multiple torn ligaments, surgery, and there's no guarantee the same game-breaking speed is still there at full strength. And when your whole game is built on separation, burst, and turning the field into a track meet, that's a massive question mark. No sane team ignores that. But here's where it gets really interesting for New England. The Patriots don't necessarily need prime, peak, untouchable Tyreek for this to make sense. They just need enough of that electricity left in the tank to change how defenses line up against Drake Mail. That's why the upside is so tempting. If he's even close to who he used to be, that's a game changer. If the deal is short-term, lower cost, and structured around the risk, then suddenly this becomes the exact kind of swing smart teams are willing to take. You're not buying certainty, you're buying upside. You're buying fear factor. You're buying the chance to put a real stress point into your offense. Put him next to Romeo Doubs, give May another legit threat, and all of a sudden the geometry of the field changes. Everything opens up. Every snap gets more dangerous. Now yes, there are off-field concerns too, and you can't just wave those away. That matters. But purely from a football standpoint, you can absolutely see why this would be worth discussing. And here's the part that really changes the temperature of the whole thing. The Patriots may not need this move to be perfect for it to be worth exploring. They may just need the price to make sense and the medical outlook to give them enough confidence to take the shot. So let me ask you straight up, because this is where the fan base splits right down the middle. Would you roll the dice on Tyreek Hill for the right short-term deal? Or would you stay far away and go find help somewhere else? And then there's A.J. Brown, which is a completely different kind of drama. Tyreek feels like a gamble. A.J. Brown feels like a blockbuster waiting to either explode or vanish into the smoke. But after what happened with Dallas Goedert, you can feel the speculation heating back up all over again. Because that extension did not kill the conversation. If anything, it threw more gas on it. The Eagles can say publicly that they don't want to move Brown, And sure, maybe that's true today. But everybody in the NFL knows situations evolve fast when money, cap structure, and roster priorities start colliding. That's why the Patriots keep hovering around this story. Not because anything is done, not because a deal is imminent, but because from a roster-building standpoint, it makes too much sense to ignore. If New England wants to fast-track Drake May's development and give this offense a true alpha on the outside, there are not many names in football that would change the equation faster than A.J. Brown. He's not just another receiver. He's a full-on offensive reshuffle. He changes matchups, coverage rules, red zone planning, and the pecking order of the entire passing game from day one. But here comes the catch, and it's a big one. The price sounds steep. It sounds like the Eagles know exactly what kind of player they'd be giving up, and they're not going to blink easily. Reports have hinted that New England may already have made a strong offer before and still got nowhere. That tells you everything. This is not some bargain bin trade target. If this happens, it's going to hurt. And maybe even more frustrating, it might take time. The most logical window could be after June 1st, when the cap math gets cleaner for Philadelphia. So now the Patriots are stuck playing the waiting game, and that's where this gets tricky. Because waiting on a star can be smart, but it can also leave you standing at the altar with no date if the deal never happens. That's the tension here. Do you stay patient for a receiver who could completely change your offense? Or do you pivot before the rest of the market dries up? That's why this rumor is still alive. The fit makes sense. The need makes sense. The cap conversation in Philly keeps feeding the fire. It's not done, it's not dead, and it sure doesn't feel random. So I need your take on this one. If you were running the Patriots, would you keep pushing for A.J. Brown all the way to the end? Or would you stop waiting and move to plan B before it's too late? And the last piece of the puzzle is Julian Hill, which might not sound huge on the surface, but I think it tells us a ton about what this offense wants to become. Because just like Gilliam, this is another move that screams identity more than box score. Hill didn't come to Foxborough to be some volume target catching 8 balls a game. He came there to do the dirty work. He said it himself. He's not the guy chasing touchdowns and glamour. He's the guy who wants to do his job the right way, hit people, protect teammates, hold guys accountable, and be first into the fire if somebody gets near Drake May. That tells you everything you need to know. This is another move that points in the same direction. The Patriots want edge. They want force. They want an offense that can impose itself. Hill gives them a real blocking tight end, something they badly lacked last season. Instead of improvising with backup linemen or piecing the role together, now they have a player who embraces that assignment and takes pride in it. That matters more than casual fans realize. Offensive identity is not just about stars. It's about whether the structure makes sense. It's about whether the supporting pieces fit the vision. And right now, the Patriots are finally starting to look like a team with a vision. Hill's background matters too. He worked under John Embry in Miami, a coach with ties to George A. Kittle and that whole nasty physical blocking tight end mold. So when Hill talks about violence not being something you switch on, but something that has to be part of who you are, that doesn't sound like empty talk. That sounds like exactly the kind of football this staff wants to bring back. And when you put Hill and Gilliam side by side, the message gets louder. New England is trying to rebuild this offense from the inside out. More physical, more disciplined, more protective of the quarterback, more capable of setting the tone instead of chasing it. That's why when I step back and look at all of this together, I don't just see separate headlines. I see a team trying to build with purpose. I see an offense being shaped around toughness, structure, and support for Drake May, while still leaving the door open for a major splash at receiver if the right opportunity breaks loose. Is every rumor going to happen? No. Is every move guaranteed to work? Of course not. But when this many different signals keep pointing in the same direction, you have every reason to believe something real is taking shape in Foxborough. So if you're riding with this team and you want to keep tracking every signal, every rumor, every next move, hit like, share this with another Patriots fan, and jump in the comments right now, because this thing feels like it's building towards something bigger, and I don't want to miss a second of it with you.